be live right now or in a couple of seconds. I don't know. We're live. Now I'm live. We're live. So there you go. Hello everyone and welcome. Let me just see that. Okay, that's good. And then here it's working as well. Yes, it's working as well. Great, fantastic. Welcome everyone. Break with Max. We're live. I'm going to wait a little bit because I've put it out there. But yes, so first of all, thank you for joining. Whenever you are joining, as always, it's now, it's always now. It doesn't matter when in time. Why? Because time doesn't exist. So whenever in time you're joining, you are already joining this transmission right now. So you are co-creating it right now with every one of us, all of us. Hi, Roxy. So welcome. I'm very happy to have you here. So let's quickly or slowly get into it and starting. So first of all, I'm doing this at the beginning right now. I'm doing it for everyone, so it's open, but at the end of this I will restrict it so that only patrons will be able to access it after the live. As I am doing more and more on Patreon, a lot of what I'm doing is on Patreon now, and it's restricted there. So I can only invite you to join to go and have a check. The link is in the description to see more material, more stuff going on there, and I'm adding stuff, and also giving more access to many things. And one of the things that you will have access through Patreon is I've put it in also in the description. On the 29th of October, I'm starting a monthly transmission called How to Worth. So going through worthiness, abundance, leaving lack behind. So it's the continuation of my course on those topics. But this monthly transmission will be much more in the practice. So going into exploring examples and behavior. How do we behave? What does that mean from the point of view of that worth? Am I having a worthy behavior or not? What does that mean? Why is that unworthy? Or why is that lackful? How do I change my behavior? Yeah, we'll see about that. But anyway, that is the idea behind that. So I can only, I'm inviting you all to join it. I will put that. It's not yet on my website. It's going to be there. I'm creating an event on Facebook. However, Facebook is shit, which means that I was not able to enter the fee that I wanted, because as I set it on Switzerland, they only gave me the opportunity to put the fee in Swiss franc. And as you may know, the Swiss franc right now is darker than the US dollar, so I put in there 20 Swiss francs, which is around 21 and something US dollars, where my intention is to put a fee of $20 and not Swiss francs. So if you go on Facebook, you are going to pay more. So what I'm going to do is I'm setting that on my website. As soon as that is ready, I will communicate more on that. Because I'm a little bit pissed because I don't understand why all of these social medias keep limiting what is possible to do. What is the thing of allowing one to use the currency they want and not link that with the country? Yeah, I want to put US dollar. Why do you limit me to Swiss franc? These are the things that I do not understand with Facebook and all of this, but it's shit. So no surprise on that. So I will organize it so that I will communicate more on that. But by all means, if you are interested, pay attention, because I think that is something very interesting to go through. And when I ask you, can you give me what is your worth? Can you give me your an example of your worth? Can you define to me your worth? If you answer this question, definitely come and participate in this, because there are a lot that you need to understand around worth. Not that it's wrong, it's not wrong, but we can evolve from giving an answer to that question and understand why there is another choice that can be made. This being out there, let's get into the topic of today. So climate change, where does it come from? And so this is controversial. The first thing is do we have climate change? And there isn't an answer to that, meaning that the spiritual, the answer from the creator is no, there is no climate change. The answer from the human collective point of view is yes, there is climate change. So why are there two different answers to a question that should be easily answered? Well, because we are creative beings. That is why there isn't one answer to that. So that climate change is not the physical manifestation of climate change. There is no climate change from the point of view of the creator. That means that there is not a climate change. There is change. And as we know, change is the only constant in the universe, except for the first 4 laws, which means that the moment is fixed and everything that is not the moment is changing. It's change. Change is constant. So that the fact that climate may be changing is part of the law. So it's not extraordinary, and it's nothing that we should be even focusing on. However, we are focusing on it. And so there you have your climate change. Focus. Why is there climate change? Because we are focusing on it. And by focusing on climate change, we are doing what? Giving it energy. And as we are energizing climate change, well, climate change happens. That's all the science you need to know about that. There is no other reason why there is climate change. There is no other reason. It's that the reason. Energy follows awareness. As long as we put awareness into climate change, there will be a climate change. In what? In the interpretation and of those that accept climate change as being something that is happening. Because if you do not accept it in the way that it is presented, well, you are not relating to it in the same way. You are still part of the awareness because you are giving it awareness. I'm talking about it, so I'm giving it awareness right now. You are watching this, so you are giving awareness to it right now because this is the topic of this video, right? However, we are not giving it that awareness of belief, of having a belief system that we are destroying the world. But now that we have expressed creation, there is another thing, and this is the main question for me, which is, why is it so easy to believe that there is a climate change by so many human beings? Why? Because when you simply are in nature, when you forget of everything else, you won't have any awareness of climate change. The only reason why we have awareness is because we are giving it, because we are accepting it. And when I say we, I say as a collective, right? So that there you have a event, a worldwide event. But the other problem that climate change has is that there is no reality outside of you. All the reality you have is inside of you. You are creating your reality. Therefore, when we are talking about a topic that is supposed to be influencing, happening all around the world, with the sciences given about it, there is a huge problem because the world, Earth, doesn't exist physically outside of you. So there is no sphere in the universe that is called Earth existing independently from you. Without you, there is no Earth. As simple as that. So the physicality that is given around this kind of event, of situations, is simply a belief system. We cannot define that in any other way that it's a belief system. And the belief system creates a situation or keeps the situation ongoing or keeps everyone, the awareness there of the collective. But there is no reality outside of you. And this is simply how it is. And we can try to have externalization, the belief that, right, the belief that there is a reality outside of you, and a lot of the behavior that many still have, even those that have heard about internalization of reality, there is still a lot of externalization. It's simply the way it is, right? The awareness and the understanding of these things is not something that has to happen straight away. We get there when we get there, exactly the moment when, as a being, we are giving ourselves the awareness of these things. So it's absolutely normal in the evolution of every being to have their path and of understanding. But nevertheless, there are still many that are giving weight to the externalization of reality, believing that there is a earth, that there is a universe outside of them, which is absolutely there isn't. And we can put it in whatever way we want to put it. There still is no reality outside of you. Same thing for time. You can define time in as many ways you want. You can give it any weight you want. There is no time. Time doesn't exist. End of story. And we are using it. Yes, it's the same thing with Earth, with the universe. They do not exist outside of you. However, we still have a global consciousness that works. We are all connected. Therefore, the illusion of the existence of a physicality outside of us is working. It's there, right? As let's say, if one is living in the in the United States, and they hear that in Australia they have built the biggest building ever, 1 mile for 1 mile, the huge thing never seen before in human history, a huge building. When one is living in the United States, that building is not there. They don't have it in their reality. They don't have it in their moment. However, if that person living in the United States takes a flight and goes to Australia, land in Australia and goes to visit that building will be there. Why? Because of our global consciousness, of our globality, of our connection, that makes that whatever things is happening around you, not directly in your own reality, is still something that you can attract and will attract as a situation. So you can go somewhere else and find what you have attracted, or you can forget everything about it and never see it because suddenly it disappears from your awareness, so it's not there anymore. So both can happen, but I'm taking that right. We're talking about this. I'm living in a place. I'm living in my here and now, and so I go in another here and now, in another state, in another country, in another place, and I find what I expect to be there, right? Because of this connection, that connectivity connection that we have. So therefore, clearly, we have this connectivity. So we are impacted by what is happening around us if we allow it, but we cannot completely shut everything down and not have these things being there. Generally, we say keep your awareness, keep your universe small, because right, you do not need to focus on those things. But the fact is that external, what you perceive to be external, is still there. You are not just focusing on it, and you do not need to focus on it. But this is not what we're talking here about. It's really this thing of realizing that you create your reality inside of you, and what is externalization is a illusion. There is no external. However, when you have the awareness of something, that's something, right? It's that your global awareness of the globality, but then that is something that you will find if ever you go in that place, or right, if ever. So that it's not external, it's internal, because you will find it only if you go there, only if you go where that awareness is leading you to find that you were aware of. And until you do not go there, well, you don't have it. It's not there with you. It's something that you have acquired the awareness of, but it's not existing in your here and now. So it's a memory. That's what it is. And only when you go there, it becomes your here and now. But until you are only, right, staying in your here and now, that is not there. But it doesn't exist outside of you. That is the main point here. It's internal. Reality is internal. We create inside of us and understand inside of us. It's an image that we give, because it's not the core of the 100% correct wording, but it's the best way in human language to explain this. The main thing, the really important thing to keep is there is no reality outside of you. And whatever inside and outside may be defined, it doesn't matter. It's not the focus here. Focus here is internalization of reality. You create it as a creator being inside of you. Inside. Okay? So that is the main problem with climate change, because climate change is using many things that are simply not there. It's using time. Time doesn't exist. It's using externalization of reality. So a Earth existing outside of you, because you need to have a physical Earth existent in order to have a climate change. Because the pollution that everyone is creating needs to be added. My pollution, your pollution, their pollution, their pollution, their pollution, and that comes together and boom, right? That's how it is. But as each one of us is creating their own reality, even though we may all be connected and there is a connectivity, right? There is a, however, how do you take what one is doing, adding it to that one and that one and that one and that one, when most of the things that we are doing in our own reality is related to us, to our experience, not to the collective. Yes, it has an impact into the collective. Everything has an impact into the collective. But here we are talking of physicality, taking my physicality and adding that physicality to everyone's physicality, which doesn't make sense. Why? And it's not happening. Why? Well, very simply. I'm very happy you ask why that doesn't work. It doesn't work because all the limitation and all these things are illusional. They do not have a physicality in reality. What do I mean? What I mean is the following. It is that we have, so far that we know, I've never seen it, but that's what we are told, right? These are always things that we are told. They are based on belief system. They are based on awareness and everything. But however, this doesn't come from knowing, it comes from what we have been told. Still, we are 8 billion living humans on Earth. Right? Okay, now that translates on what? That translates on many people having computers, smartphones, having the use of many things like that. Everyone is creating data. Data has to be stored. So 8 billion, and okay, it's not 8 billion. Some are in the idea of being poor or whatever, so it's a little bit less. All right, even if you take away what you think that is not able to participate into that. I don't go into that because, right, it's perspective. You may have the perspective that Africa is poor, Africa doesn't have that perspective. The perspective that you have of others is your own belief system. It's what you are doing for yourself, the interpreting for yourself. It's not their interpretation. So remember, you cannot assign your belief system, your interpretation of Earth. It's yours, but it's limited to you. It's not in the collective. The collective doesn't work in that way because that is only what you see. The 8 billion people that are supposed to be alive right now, if those are each one a creator being, they have their own perspective. Therefore, everyone, I can assure you, they are not seeing themselves as poor in their own reality. They are going through whatever they are going through. Yes, like each one of us. However, I can assure you, when you see a poor people, it's your interpretation. It's not their interpretation, because you are creating your reality for yourself, not for them. So your interpretation is only yours, not theirs. So everything that you perceive as being poor, as being less than, as being in a situation, that's your interpretation for you, not for the collective. So forget that and do not apply that to everyone. You are not understanding then creation if you are limiting that in that way. Okay? So 8 billion people are having the necessity of having data stored, because everyone is creating data. So if in the physicality you need to have the storage of all of that data, so that means Facebook, that means YouTube, that means all of those things are creating storage. There is the need of storage. So the amount of storage that we need for 8 billion people, and in that you have to add every corporation that is doing their job and they need the same thing, so, and etc., etc. So I am just going to make a long story very short, and I'm going to ask, where do come all the storage that is needed for 8 billion people plus corporation, etc., etc. In the physicality, if the physicality was real outside of us, there is no way that will be possible, because we are living according to the physicality, to the reality that is outside of us, that is pretended to be outside of us. We're living in a limited reality where resources are limited, and therefore we cannot supply everything to everyone. So how the hell are we doing to give to everyone storage for what they have as data? Not gonna happen. Impossible. However, that's not happening. We have illimited storage, illimited data. That's what we are having. Because what you perceive of reality, it's what you perceive. Other have another perception, and they have access to data that you do not have access to. So videos, etc., etc. So we are absolutely here talking about what is perceived in the external reality as limited. But when you take that back in your inside of a creator being, you realize only one thing and one thing only. It's illimited. There is no limitation. So that's what it is. The external reality that is illusional is not existing, because if it was existing, we will already be extincted. We will already have been wiped away by all the things that have already happened. Right? And the limitations that are perceived in that reality, well, they will be in full capacity, in full, applied in full. So it means that right now we will not be able to create a single smartphone, because the material needed was already not there years ago. And still they are creating smartphones. And not to speak about oil. And so not to speak about our system of transportation with depending on oil. Oil was not existing anymore on Earth in the 70s until it was fully there, and we still are not short of oil anymore. In a physical reality existing outside of us, we will have gone back in Stone Age, because transportation will have been impossible for a very long time until we were able to pass through oil. But for a while, it will have been stop everything, and not to speak about the central heating, right? We will have gone back using coal, using wood, and this kind of thing. So you see that is the thing, right? When we look at the idea of a world existing outside of us, is that everything is existing outside, and so the connection, the connectivity of reality outside of you is in full, right? Capacity, it's used in full. However, when you took it inside of you, that disappears, because the illimit storage that we have is only possible because each one of us is taking care of our storage, of our data, of our access to any data. Each one of us is doing that, right? So that, coming back to climate change, so that when we have climate change with that needs the idea of everything being connected outside of us, so that everyone's pollution has to be added to everyone else's pollution. But in my reality, as I am a creator being and I'm creating my reality, my perception, and not yours, I have nothing to do with you. Except we are co-creating right here, right now, right? But in the sense of, I'm not creating your reality. You are creating your reality, not me, and not anyone else. You are. So that you are doing that for you, not for me. You're doing it for you. So the idea of climate change necessitates that each one of the 8 billion people has to come together and create the pollution that is needed in order to have climate change. But as we are not connected in that way, in the physical way, we are not connected, then how do we have climate change? How have we built climate change? And something that, by the way, climate change is something that we were not saying long time ago. Climate change is just come out of nowhere. Everyone is saying climate change right now. We were not. We're not using that 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It has come out of nowhere. Suddenly, everyone is saying climate change. Anyway, where does climate change come from, really, truly? Because I've been speaking now for 20 and more minutes, right? But highlighting the physicality, internalization of reality against externalization of reality, and right, the limitations of the external reality versus the illimitation of no limits of your internal reality. And that's the only way we can have a reality functioning, because that's the only way we have the limitations, right? Because the limitation that we are attributing to our reality are only illusory. There is no limitations. Absolutely not. No. Or we wouldn't have the internet. The internet is impossible to have in a external reality. Although right now I'm talking to you, you are hearing my voice. How is it that you are hearing my voice? I'm not talking to you directly in person. We have in between a camera, microphone, cables, and all of that. How is it that my voice, not a voice, my voice comes to you? You shouldn't have my voice coming to you. You should have a voice, not my voice. Because the cables do not know my voice. So, back to climate change. And how does it comes to be? In order to understand climate change, we have to let go of climate change, because climate change, I think I have said enough right now so far to make it clear that there is no climate change. However, that's what we are experiencing. So why are we experiencing climate change? And for understanding that, we have to let go of climate change as a scientific thing or as something happening. We have to do what we need to do with everything that we are experiencing, whether we are tracking it or whether it's directly our experience. And that means that we have to go back to us, to the self, to me, I. And understand what? Understand that the science that is given around climate change is what? Human activity is creating climate change. By having a human activity, there is climate change, because the human activity is damaging of everything. So that's what climate change is, human activity. So then, as I said that there is no climate change, however, the science says human activity is what is creating it. Then I go and ask the question, well, why human activity? Why is it that human activity is always damaging everything? It doesn't make sense. How is it that everything that is human is damaging everything? Every human activity. So, breathing, it's damaging and killing us. Eating is damaging and killing us. Food is damaging and killing us. Physical activity, some says that, oh, I'm feeling well, and others says, well, physical activity is not that good. What is? But well, at the end of the day, physical activity is not doing well to anyone, really, because you may have more muscles, but it's still damaging your body in the long run, because you're getting old anyway. Pharmaceutical, it's damaging, because the pills we're taking, yeah, maybe it's a cure for something, but is killing us anyway. Building our houses, our towns, it's damaging, because damaging of the environment. We're taking nature away to give ourselves space, and that is damaging and helping climate change. Having a fire is damaging. The heating of your apartment or for your house is damaging. Having children is damaging. You are adding to the population of the world, and more human there are, more human activity there is, the more we are polluting and the more we are destroying the world. So every human is destroying Earth. And so on and so on. And nearly we can go through every human activity, and that has been defined by researches and whatever as damage. All that is human is bad and killing and damaging and therefore, at the end of the day, adding all of that, there is only one thing. If we want to save Earth, humans have to disappear from Earth. We have to stop any human activity, because all that is human is damaging. So at that point, as I am clever, intelligent, and I am able to use my higher perspective, I say stop, bullshit. I call bullshit. Why? Because, I'm sorry, why should human activity be only damaging? That doesn't make sense. If you are clever, intelligent, and using what you have, you cannot stop and say, this is bullshit. It cannot escape you, or shouldn't escape you. That is problematic in itself. To give so much negative, to give so much damage into human activity. So then, as again, let's go forward. Then at that point, the question is, why human activity is so damaging? Because, and who's defining the human activity damaging? Oh, well, humans are. Humans are defining human activity as damaging. So why? Is it because of humanity? Oh, no. None of us has a sense of humanity yet. We have a sense of self. We have a sense of what each one of us were doing in our reality, but we do not have yet a sense of humanity. Even though we are attributing all of that to humanity, we are still not there. We are not expressing the globality, the one that we are. We are still disconnected with that as a globality. I'm not speaking, not all of us are there, but a lot of us are still there in not being aware of the oneness. So that in fact, what we are attributing to the humans has in reality to be reduced to the individual, to the one that is perceiving this and attributing this to humanity generally. But that is the real climate change then, because why are anyone believing that human activity is damaging? As I'm saying, it's not about humanity, it's about the individual. So that is what climate change is the individual, each one of us having a problem with, not with humanity, but with themselves. That is climate change, is the lack of love, or for some, the hate that they have for themselves. And then as they are unable to really understand the lack of love they have for the self, they are attributing that to humanity, and from humanity, well, you go to, right? So that in fact, climate change and the fact that climate change is related to human activity is in reality, when we let go of all of the illusions, is the lack of love for the self, the unworthiness. That's what climate change is. Nothing scientific, nothing about gases creating whatever. There is no reality outside of us. There is no shield keeping the heat inside of our planetary system. Bullshit. There is no reality outside of us. So it's created, it's attracted, and the only way we have really to have that is that lack of love that is still present in our global consciousness, because even though we are creating our own reality, there is an influence that we have on our global consciousness, and through that we are, right, giving awareness to that, so that it is easy. It is really very easy to believe in all of that science that is given, that is saying human activity is bad. Human activity is destroying everything. It's so easy to believe that, because the real message is not about humanity. It's about the self. What that means to each one is what? You are bad. You are destroying. You are doing this. That is the real message. You are doing this. And you believe it because you hate yourself. If you didn't hate yourself, it wouldn't be that easy to have this belief. And climate change will have been taken over by so many that easily. But there is a pattern there, right? Because climate change is only the last one that we have of a very long list of situations that are similar, of destroying and this is that. So it's not a surprise. And there again, you can see that all of the situations that should have destroyed life on Earth actually didn't destroy life on Earth. We're still here. So something happened that solved that situation, but when that situation was solved, a new one was presented, and a new one is presented where it has been said, oh, it's going to destroy human life on Earth. Whereas the only solution to that situation will be the disappearance of human activity, of human presence on Earth, so that that situation will be, because climate change as it is presented today, the only way we could solve the situation is by having no human activity anymore. All of those people that are believing that, accepting that you climate change think, going around saying whatever we have to change, it's even that they are saying that we need to do will not be enough if that they believe was true. Nothing could solve the situation. Nothing. Except a complete stop of human activity. Now, however, right? What do we have now realized? Well, we have realized that during the pandemic, we stopped a lot of human activity. And what, according to the science that is given to us, what was not possible has happened. Meaning that nature has recuperated a lot in just a couple of months of in reducing human activity. A lot, which is impossible according to the science. And there again, if you accept externalization of reality, well, then that is not explained. That is impossible. In a physical, external reality, it's impossible. But there is no reality outside of you. That's why that happens, because it's inside. Because suddenly many humans have stopped what? Giving awareness to climate change. They were focused somewhere else. And climate change here was not a priority anymore. They were focusing here on a pandemic. So they forgot climate change for a while. And suddenly climate change, poof. So all the science that is given around that is bullshit. Because it's based on what? On a belief system. And that belief system is a belief system of human activity is destroying everything. So it's really very easy to have confirmation of that, because when you are having a belief system and at the same moment you are doing science, well, your science will be exact your belief system. Doesn't mean that science is completely off. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a scientist is a creative being, and therefore, as a creative being, they are creating their reality. And when they create in their reality science, their belief system is part of it. Okay, let us take over now. Yeah. And let go of all the emotional human expressing the emotion of the stupidity of how can you believe that you are destroying everything. Obviously that is a belief system. Obviously that is the experience that many humans are going through, and that is based on the way you are built, the way you are influenced by everything that you allow the influence to come to you. So that the love of human, the love of yourself is not always there. But that is a experience. It has consequences, as you see, in your belief systems and in the way you create your reality that goes into creating the situation of giving awareness to something like climate change. However, now that you have been given a point of view of how that is possible, let's now see around that. What is going on? Why climate change? You are, as a collective, very clever, very intelligent, because you are using these things. It may not appear to you that there is a use of this kind of belief system, of this kind of word happening as you are having. However, you are, as we said, clever as a collective. You are aware as a collective of where you are going, why such events are influencing you as a collective, and you as a being. Well, there is often a reason of change. These things that you perceive as being the creation of lack of love or of not accepting the self, etc., etc. But this goes to another level, because this is a global level, the illusion of it, right? There is no externality, but still you perceive that this has an impact on many beings, a lot of beings, and in your reality it has an impact on your world view, right? Even though everyone has their interpretation of it, that is happening in so many of your attractions, on your interpretation of your reality. So why are you using this? Because you are using this. You are using it for change. The idea behind all of this is always change. Coronavirus is a change, is a factor of change. Your climate change is a factor of change. The ozone situation, right? It was a factor of change. And you have major and less major things that are going on and happening in your reality. That is, right, what you conceive as global, right? That have a global impact and therefore a factor of change, changing. What do we mean with that? We mean that you use these things in order to allow change. And you have a change that happens, that you have been building up over time. Now, time is not a real factor. The change happens in the moment. However, here we are talking about what you are building up in the illusion of time, meaning the story you are telling yourself about humanity. Humanity has a history. So you are telling a story about that history. And you are then discovering that the story you are telling about that history many times has to be changed, because you discover that in fact there is more time to be added to the existence of humanity. There is more time to be here at there, right? Time is a factor that is fucking up it, because it's not correct, because there is, right, many things that you are forgetting into your history. But right, you are playing with that. You are giving yourself a story so that you can relate to that when you are trying to explain why this is happening right now. Well, that it is happening right now because, well, there was the Industrial Revolution in the UK in the 19th century that has introduced the use of carbon and coal, oil based stuff, and by doing that, then the industrial revolution has become something global. And when that has gone global, well, the use of those the means of creating goods, etc., has gone global. And so pollution that has been created by the Industrial Revolution and has gone global. Therefore, from there, you have the need of transportation, and from using horses, you have moved into using oil-based means of transportation, and that has gone global, and therefore more pollution, etc., etc. Right? You are telling that story to yourself right now in order to say, there is a global change, a climate change. Haha. Right? If you forget that story, where is climate change? Or you cannot talk about climate change, because if you forget industrialization and all of those things are taken away from your awareness, from your memory, from your history, then there is no climate change. So you need right now to tell yourself that story in order to be able to say, oh, there is a climate change. But that is what? In time. Do you have time? No. There is no time. Except the time that you are creating, but you are the creator of time, not time itself. Because if you validate time, time has necessarily to be outside of you, but you are now understanding that there is nothing outside of you, so there cannot be time, because time can only be outside of you, because time is taken with all of that history that is not relevant to you. You did not create those things, right? By being there, so you did not create those things, except the memory of those things that comes to you. So you are not creating those things. So time has to be external. And nothing exists outside of you. So you see, that is the big, also the big problem in validating or accepting anything as a external reality from you, is that it needs to be validating other stuff, and that other stuff has to be external. But outside of you, nothing exists, so it needs to be validated. A lot of acceptance of things that do not make sense, that are, and the fact that physicality outside of you necessarily means applying limitation. Those limitations will necessarily be the end of you, of your society as you perceive it, unless you create a society that works on other ways. However, you don't have that. What you perceive as being your reality with the technology that you have wouldn't allow you to afford an external reality. But you exist here and now. And you existing is the proof of internal reality. You see, the illusion is working with that. You are able to perceive your reality as external by relating to the illusion. You let go of the illusion, You stop validating blindly the illusion, and suddenly you come to what? You come to the realization of things being slightly different or not making sense, because the thing about the externalization of reality is that then there is no sense in it, whether it's scientific sense, understanding, whether it's personal understanding. It doesn't add. The exercise of projecting or of understanding, the amount of resources that will be needed in a physical external world in order to create the communication, to create the internet as you know it, to create your goods as you know them, right? The amount that is needed is beyond your understanding. But that's the point, right? Why do you relate to that externalized reality where all of those things are happening? But it's because you are unable to globalize this. You are not seeing it global. You are seeing only your reality, which is correct, right? You only have your here and now. You do not have to go and relate to anything else. However, here we're not talking about that. We are talking about the understanding of internalization against or versus the externalization, which is exactly that. When you internalize your reality, so when you understand that you are the one responsible for your own reality, and that's all, versus the idea of a existing Earth outside of you with the universe, obviously, because if you have a Earth that is outside of you, it means that all that you see in the sky, all that you perceive as being the universe, is out there. So that physicality exists independently from you. And yes, exactly, Max, exactly. The other thing and the other question will be, how is it that the heat of the sun arrives on Earth, in a physical Earth, externalized, right? In that idea of the universe existing outside of you, how is it that the universe is supposed to be right outside of Earth, outside of a planetary system? You are supposed to have no air, nothing, a cold, a eternal cold, the absolute zero. So the question that Max has is, how is it that the sun is able to send heat to Earth that is supposed to go through the all, right? To go through the universe, to go through that void that is supposed to be out there. The idea is that the sun is so hot that doesn't matter, but that heat is going through, physically going through millions and millions and millions of miles of cold. So where that does, how is it that arrives on Earth and being hot, still hot? How is it possible? It is not, because that's not how it works, right? Because there is no external reality, so the heat that you have in your reality is created by you, not created by anything external by you. You create everything in your reality. That is the thing. So there is no heat coming from the sun in an externalization of reality. The idea, right? Good. Because if the physicality was true, was real, that is impossible. because the sun, the heat from the sun, should go in through millions and millions of miles of total cold, freezing, absolute zero. And what does happen on your earth, on your reality, when you take something that even that is very hot and you put it in something that is freezing? Well, it freezes, right? At the end, it freezes. And now, imagine, it takes time from the sun to the heat to come to Earth, and millions of kilometers. And there is no air. There is nothing. There is only the absolute cold. That's the physicality that you are relating to. However, what are you doing? You are saying, well, here I am. There is the sun, and I am hot. I'm receiving hot from the sun. Oh, therefore, that's what is happening, right? The sun is giving us the heat. So the whatever is coming from the sun, well, it's work. And so by seeing the result, you are forgetting that there is a physical action that has to happen. And that at the same time, you are defining your universe as being cold. At the same time, you are saying, yes, but the ray of light is hot and stays hot through millions of miles of absolute zero, freezing, cold, nothingness. How is it possible? Being and being very well aware what is going the human to do. Well, the human is going to have what? A belief system that is going to explain that. That's why it works, right? But here we are putting internal against external. And we know that there is nothing external. There is only something internal. So that we know you are, as creator being, creating your heat. Co-creating with a being that you call sun for that thing that is in your sky that is supposed to give you heat. But nothing exists outside of you. And you create everything in your reality. The interpretation of it, yes. But interpreting it doesn't mean that you are not creating it. It means you are interpreting it, but it's still there in your reality. And you are perceiving the physicality of it. So you are creating that. It belongs to you. So you see with this, the idea of climate change becomes more uncertain because there is no heat coming from the sun, so you cannot keep the heat that is not coming. Or then you have to accept that maybe as humans you are increasing your heat. You are increasing your activity. You are increasing something, and that something is bringing change in the way you relate to your head. So maybe climate change is related to something internal and not to something external. However, right, awareness, if The moment you will stop giving awareness to that, well, that will disappear. And that is going to happen already now with the change that is happening, because you may have noticed it. There is a increased pathos on human activity, so in the change that you are experiencing, so that the way you are relating to everything is changing, and the way you are related to climate change is changing too. And yes, to answer a question that this guy has, what about someone like Greta, the Swedish girl that is that has been used as a banner for climate change, right? To protest it, to fight against it, because Maxwell is saying, well, she's only increasing the awareness of it. She's not fighting against it. She is on the opposite, creating even more climate change because she's creating more awareness of it. That is partially true. These beings that are acquiring a global awareness, they appear to bring more change. She is bringing more awareness on it, and therefore supporting the system of climate change, right? Energy follows awareness. The more awareness you put on climate change, the more climate change there will be. True. However, a being like her is manifested to implement the change, to support the change, to keep the focus on that change, because even though, right, climate change is not really happening in the way that it is related to, there is nevertheless an idea behind that of human activity needing change. You need to change the way you relate to your human activity, not in keeping it as a destruction factor or a negative factor. It's simply the evolution of humanity. That is what is behind this kind of being that appear in that way and are creating awareness. Yes. So she has a factor of change in her activity to support that change. Why? Because then by keeping the awareness there, what you get is that you work in implementing new technology, because it pushes your scientific work into trying new thing, into insisting on new thing, right? In developing new technologies, which is really not what they are doing, because the technology already exists. Is simply the bringing those technology into your awareness, because that is what it is. A technology has its presence in your reality because you allow it to be there according to what you accept in your reality, because the human being a being of fear, a being that is not open straight away to the change, to those big changes, and need time, because the human being is related to time. Therefore, technology need time to be accepted and implemented in the globality that you have, right? Your global consciousness, you need that. Some of you won't, but you are still related to this. So you have to allow time to be used in order to have those technology appearing in your reality. And those technology, as soon as they appear in your reality, will bring the solution, the physical solution to the problem that you have, meaning they will change the relationship that you have with climate change. They will change the way you give your awareness to climate change, and therefore climate change will disappear. Like every problem that you have, as soon as your relationship to it change, so you do not focus on it anymore, then they disappear. And that is exactly what happened with the ozone situation. It is that you changed the way you related to reality, you related to the situation, because a solution was presented to you, and by accepting that solution, by accepting the fact that that solution was creating results, you have forgotten of to give your awareness to that, and so therefore it disappeared. That's how it works. And this situation is exactly the same in the idea of saying that as soon as you will present solutions, those solutions, technologically or whatever will be manifested, will take then away your awareness from it. COVID has done exactly that. It has taken away your awareness from climate change. And by taking away your awareness from climate change, you have instantly seen a change in your reality. So you have there an example of how climate change will disappear. However, as you are using time, and you will have to allow it to be done in time, meaning that when it's done, you will have a memory of it. Meaning that right now you are having a memory of it because it's happening now. So that's the history of climate change. And absolutely, yes, you're true, you're right. There is a connection between lack of love for the self, of humanity, the still relating to human as being bad, that brings the awareness to climate change. The connection, the relationship is clear, is there. So there is a work that you have to do collectively or individually first, and then that will be collective, to work on self-love, self-acceptance, allowance, and but isn't that the work that you are already doing? Isn't this what we are doing right now? Pointing out self-love as a solution to every problem you have. Because in the end, that is what it is. When a human accepts his condition of human, and when you say condition, it's not to be interpreted as disease or something, right, that you go as negative. That is to be understood that you are a human being. And when you accept that you are a human being, the next step is to accept that as a human being, you are a creative being. But the two are linked together. You cannot separate them because there is no separation. What you will let go is of your identity, because human creates identities but doesn't need them. You are not in need of your identities. You let go of those identity and you are left with the human, the pure human that you are, that is creator. And when you will and you are going in that direction, when you are at that point where you let go of your identities, that when you let go of the need of those identity, and that you will turn your attention to the human as a human and let go of everything else and accepting the creative being that you are. And we are not saying when you are accepting it, because when you are doing that, you are still not there, because when you are simply the creator being that you are as a human being, that's what you are. And there is nothing else to be done. That's I am. I am is simply I am. Very good. Good. So now let's see. Okay. So now, so you have nothing else? Good. Then we say goodbye. And well, we say goodbye for now, but we are not far away. As you know, we are always there. And you know that we are always there. And for what you are feeling right now, you know that you are only to be. And when you need, we are there. This is a very difficult concept for you, right? To understand that we are there. That we are. And we are connected. So you do not need anything else. Asking helps, yes, but we are still there. The only thing you need is listening. Allow the connection, allow the exchange. That's all. And literally, you're not alone. Remember? Good. Then we thank you for your attention to spend this moment with us. We're very happy to exchange with you. We are always, well, here. We're always us. And so, goodbye, and we will see you in the next moment. Oh shit, they are so funny. It's so funny. It's so funny. Oh my goodness. They turn it around in a way. It's just mind fucking, because it's just it's a human perspective. Good. Well, we don't give a fuck about that. Let's turn this in another way. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. That was really very fun. So as I said, I will keep this for link this to the Patreon. You have, if you are interested, absolutely go and check. There is the let me see if this works. Yeah, the Patreon works. This is Breakfast with Matt. Let me see. Does this work? Yeah, everything works. So you can go and check, absolutely. And then, yeah, last reminder, it's about the 29th, really. As soon as I have what I am waiting for, I will communicate on it. So yes, but anyway, around worth. I think it's going to be very funny and very interesting. So you are absolutely invited to check this out. And this being said, I now say goodbye to you, to all of you, and thank you for joining in. Obviously, as always, a pleasure to interact with you and connect with you in this moment and in every moment. And it doesn't matter when you are watching this. As always, it's always now. And I love you and thank you so much. Bye bye.